friends. This is Dolores Williams, DW's View, Stand Up. If we do not stand up for what we believe, who will? My sponsor keeps this podcast on the air. My sponsor is Miss Kim Yater, my personal coach. If you're stuck if you're hit a wall and you're ready to close the gap from where you are today to where you want to be, then you need to reach out to my personal coach, Miss Kim Yater. And you can reach Kim at Calendly, CALENDLY.com/Kim, KIM Yater, YEATER, for your complimentary strategy session. Contact Kim today. And today, I want to introduce a very special guest. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. If we don't stand up, friends, who will? Now I will introduce my special friends. But first, let me thank my audience. I want to thank each of you for coming every week. Listen to my podcast and sharing them with your friends and in your whatever means of communication you have. Get it out and share it with your friends. But today, I have the privilege of interviewing a very special young man. His name is Eli. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. Eli Komai.
Komai, it rhymes.
Komai. Okay, Eli Komai is my special guest today. And we've been knowing Eli for, several months, if not a year. But he's a very, very smart young man. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is formally trained in the hospitality profession. He lives in Southern California. After his college years, Eli was an avowed socialist. He loved the ideas and promises of Bernie Sanders. After enough work in his industry, he realized that there is something wrong with offering free stuff. After years of honestly seeking the truth with the John Birch Society, Eli has turned his viewpoint around. So Eli is still working with the society to help others also turn around as well. Dear friends, help me welcome my special guest today, Eli. Good afternoon, Eli. How are you today?
There. Doing great.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, it is a beautiful day. It is a wonderful day. And we're going to go ahead and
night.
jump.
Depending on when you're watching this.
That's right. Now, do you live there in that area?
I do. I live in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Here,
Okay.
Southern
There at
California.
the beach?
Oh no, I don't live at the beach. I live near close to the beach. So I live in the Aztec Mesa, or El Cerrito, right near San Diego State University, where they are cranking out young hopefuls by the barrelful.
Oh, great. Well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and jump right in. Tell us, Eli, about your years of growing up, and I want to know who had the greatest impact on your life.
On my young adult years, I can say that it was my baseball coaches and then my mentors in school. But growing up in Chula Vista, I would say it has been folks in my immediate group of friends. But really, yeah, it would just be the friends I would hang out with every single day after school. Thankfully, they came from good households that raised them right, had some discipline. In fact, one of the guys in my group, his name is Jonathan. And he was very disciplined, like incredibly, and like he was by the books on everything, and we would always make fun of him, for being so upright and so proper. And then we didn't realize that ourselves. We were blessed to have some sort of structure and discipline in our lives from our families as well. It's just his was, to such a much higher degree. That we would kind of like poke fun at him for it, how he would have to rake a dirt lot, kind of like everything was like a bonsai garden, if you can imagine that, where it's just absolutely immaculate. And that's the kind of household his parents ran. And so we kind of poke fun at him for it while we're playing in the block. And but it was good. Really, it's our parents. The family unit is probably the last line of defense in any society. So if I were to say a big influence on me, it was my own family unit growing up, and the family units of my immediate peers growing up. And then you go out beyond that into young adulthood. It's really mentors that come across, that see potential in you. So if you see potential in somebody else, ask them if they'd like to be mentored by you. I come across folks who are honestly seeking truth, thankfully, and I recognize that humility and that desire, that hunger, and I try and mentor them as best I can. If not, if I don't have time, then I try and put them in touch with somebody who wants or is wise and might be willing to mentor somebody else. If I, give them a nice push. If I push them enough, that I convince them, oh, hey, take this guy under your wing. Okay. I'll take this girl under your wing. She needs direction. Oh, all right. It's like sometimes people are hesitant to be on either side of that equation, but I believe that's a huge way you can impact young adults. That's how I was impacted, at least. So that's my anecdotal evidence. That's my example, what my experience has been. There was a professor at my college. I went to the Collins College of Hospitality Management at Cal Poly Pomona, which is on the east end of LA County. And big influence there. His name was Don St. Hilaire. It wasn't just the stuff he taught us in the classroom. It was the mindset he had taught us in just the way he lived his life, and I'll never forget. I'm just going to leave you with one thing that he left for me that I have adapted into my life. Every time he tackled a big problem for us or with us in class, we would do these large scenarios. It's basically on finance. So he's our finance professor, and it's most, if you look at hotels and restaurants, it's commercial real estate. Why? Because historically, okay, I don't want to overload folks too much here, but I'm sure you can always listen back. But historically, the hospitality industry is known as the public housekeeping industry, and you can shorten that to public house. Oh, the public house, the pub, all that stuff. So you have what is essentially like a public house. It is real estate a portion for commercial purposes to basically be somebody's public residence, their home away from home. And what he taught us, Don St. Hilaire, I would sometimes call him affectionately Don St. Hilarious, because he was because of his personality. Don would ask us whenever we're tackling a big commercial real estate finance problem example, he would always say, once everything's on the board and all the variables and all the constants and the fact pattern, if you're a lawyer, you'd call it that. Once the fact pattern has been established and the whole stage is set, before we even go into the problem, before we even start moving these numbers around, he would tell us this one thing. And this is an adage, this is a proverb of his that has stuck with me for my entire life and I use regularly. He said, you start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. And so, because he's standing before a room full of just completely bewildered college kids. Like, he has so much stuff. He has 3 whiteboards in the front of the class. All 3 of them are loaded with facts and figures. And everybody sitting before those 3 whiteboards is just completely astonished and bewildered, dumbfounded, dumbstruck. They don't even know where to start. And he just looks at us and he says, you know what we must do? And by the second or third class, we already knew what he was going to say. You start with the end in mind. You always begin the problem by first looking at what you want the solution to be, what you want your endpoint to be. And so I always use that saying throughout my young adult life is I start with the end in mind. I look at the big picture and I'm looking for the result I want to get after many years of hard work. And every day is a step in that direction.
Hey, a question for you now. In college, did you have some indoctrination into socialism? Is that how you got introduced to socialism?
Oh yeah, it's kind of hard to go. I consider myself lucky and a little blessed to have gone through college with like a small amount of indoctrination. Thankfully, it wasn't too heavy. Thankfully, I was blessed with the pursuit of a business, finance degree. Hospitality is essentially kind of like a dressed up business degree, and or specialized business degree. And thankfully, even this is what's interesting is even though you've taken all your GEs, say at a good community college where there may be conservative professors still in existence, which I say if you go to a community college out in certain parts of the state, they can't have a bunch of socialists living out there in the sticks or in the boonies or wherever this community college is located. So you can get all your GEs done at a 2-year or junior college, and then you can go to 4-year. And they put this into curriculum somewhere in the last 10 years. They said, okay, you've done all your GEs at community college, but now that you're at a 4-year, you also need to do what's called, and they introduced this, the left always moves the goalposts. Now you need to do what's called upper division general education. And so thankfully I chose the least, well, yeah, I didn't even know this at the time, but I chose like fun sounding, like it's just my personality, my temperament at the time kind of led me away from that. But even though I was not surrounded on all sides by these ideas, I only had, was getting them and put in my face from every now and again. I still thought like a socialist. I still thought socialism was A-okay. And that was a solution to all the problems. I didn't realize that it was also creating the majority of the problems in reality.
Now, your family wasn't socialist, though, right?
Oh, no,
my mom
was quite kind of socialist. So my mom was in the Peace Corps. That's how she met my dad in Fiji. My dad is from the island of Fiji, like where they get the Fiji water from. In fact, his mother's village is right next door to the village. They neighbor the village that sold their water rights, the rights to the aquifer, so that Fiji water could bottle their water up. And my dad is actually, his country, he's actually pretty disciplined, actually very disciplined, and not to the point of my neighbor friend, but pretty close. And the culture is quite conservative. However, there's, actually, because Fiji is, I don't know if you know this, but Fiji is an old empire. It is an old empire, part of the British Commonwealth, part of the British Empire. Kind of like New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong. And after the British, kind of got their butts kicked in World War II, they kind of had to get rid of all these colonies as this overhead. They couldn't administer all these colonies. So they just handed over, they wrote up, constitutions for all these countries, and of which Fiji was one of them. And so ever since then, they've been independent, but they've been taken over by military coup. And there's some strong men. But my dad's not super predisposed to socialism. He's a guy of, again, strong discipline. And when you're disciplined and you have the mental fortitude to discipline yourself and direct and guide yourself through life and to be successful, then you automatically are leery of free stuff, of socialist ideas, because you're like, wait, who provides this? Like, or why, on what basis are these people needy? You're only teaching people to be dependent on your fish that you're giving them for free rather than how to fish for themselves. Whereas my dad he knows how to fish. He loves to fish and he loves eating fish. And so he just instinctively is kind of anti-socialist in the slightest bit. And I think that's what saved this country so far is because of many Americans, they're instinctively anti-communist, like at their core. And my mother. Oh, go ahead. I was about to say a little bit about my mom. She, on the other hand, actually got a little bit of a liberal education. She's from Denver, Colorado, and she, I think she's just a product. We're all just products of the culture. She was a product of the culture in the 60s and 70s, and she believed in the ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, and like full equality under the law. That's what the socialists will always sell you on is equality, equality, equality. Equality of what? They never define their terms. They call me a right-wing wingnut all the time. They never define their terms. What is left? What is right? What is your spectrum you're talking about? Same thing with equality. Equality of what? Please define your terms. Equality of output, equality of outcome, that's socialism. Socialism wants everyone to be equal under a dictator, regardless of what you put in. Equality of opportunity is what capitalism's all about. Everyone has the same opportunity. And in fact, we have more opportunity in a free market than in a quasi-socialist market like here in the United States. Sorry, there's a couple super stallions flying overhead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, what kind of got pulled you away from your socialist thinking, Eli? And I also want to know now, do you recognize the socialist ideas of Bernie Sanders implemented in the agenda and the policies of Joe Biden?
Oh, it's Joe. Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I haven't really been paying close attention to Joe because I know he's kind of just on strings. I've been diverting my eyes to more fruitful pursuits. But I can tell you the platform he's on is absolutely, there's some, he's not a hardcore socialist like Bernie is. However, yeah, he's more of like a Trotskyite, but I'll just say, you know, I haven't seen too much of that, but I know that's what the platform's going off of. I know what is happening with the platform. And again, they're trying to get, it's appeal to popularity, ad populum. That's a logical fallacy. And we have a lot. I mean, he just opened up the borders 2 weeks ago for asylum seekers. And while they're getting their paperwork processed and waiting for their court date, they get released in the United States. And this is not like people just from Mexico. We actually have a high number of Haitians coming through the border, and Chinese, anybody basically from around the world. They can make it into South and Central America. They can go up, filter up through Mexico, go to a border crossing in Texas, apply for asylum, and then they can get released into the United States with a court date that 90% of, this is stats, this is not racist, you know, facts aren't racist, facts are facts. 90% of the time, these folks won't show up for their court date. So why release them into the US? You know, well, keep them on the other border side. What's the incentive to attend your court hearing for your asylum application if you're already on the US side? You pretty much, it's a bird in the hand, you know, and
well, you know,
they're not
Eli,
show up.
Yeah, you know, President Trump had a wonderful plan worked out for immigration that got destroyed just within, you know, just in January, since the Biden came into the White House. Perfect idea to let people wait, get their asylum heard, wait in Mexico. He had a great agreement with Mexico to keep people there while they waited for their asylum hearing, rather than releasing them. And now there are 5,000 at least every day. That's not including the ones who don't even just walk through.
5,000 is a lot of people.
5,000 every day. That's what's coming across that border. And a lot of children are being brought in. And one thing they found is that some of these children are recycled. Some of the Border Patrol noticed that, you know what? Wait a minute. This is the same child that I saw with somebody else a few days ago. So they bring these children in, they pretend that they're a family unit. This is why President Trump kept those people separated and made them wait, not here in America. And why some of the children who were brought in, they complained about the children not being with somebody, but there was no proof that that was their family. Because we know that the drug smugglers and the cartels will get those children, use them as a way to come into the country. But then, of course, some of them are just coming through the fence. But 5,000 a day coming in with the open border, America is, we're not going to recognize it at this pace.
Oh, it's a 1-2 punch. It's a first prong of a 2-pronged attack. The first prong is to really just pack and crack, and what they're going to do with the crack. The second prong is is voter registration. They've had motor voter.
Exactly.
All these folks are going to get mailed a ballot or come across a ballot, and it's just, if you get it's just like motor voter. It's ridiculous. So combine the unbridled, unregulated immigration, because I'm all for immigration. However, I am against unregulated immigration. I'm all for business, but and I'm all for weapons. Exactly. But I'm against unregulated business and unregulated weapons. And we're talking about light regulations. I started as a libertarian. After I woke up, I was a libertarian. Just do enough that is necessary. Now I'm actually a full-blown conservative and Christian. And you do not just just a slight amount of regulation that is necessary, like as is practical. You know, if you're a pragmatist, libertarian, not just do what is necessary as far as regulation goes, not the bare minimum amount of regulation, but also a bare minimum of regulation that is also moral too. What is also morally acceptable to regulate there too. And so it's like the bare minimum regulation for immigration would be just key to, again, and the bare minimum of what is practical and moral. That's about it now, because I used to be libertarian, just focused on practicality. The only thing that holds libertarians back is the non-aggression doctrine, a non-aggression principle. That's no morality. That's a terrible replacement for a true morality or biblical morality or any kind of more complex moral compass. And the second prong, again, is just regulate what's morally just. And honestly, if the entire population is morally just, you don't even need these regulations in the first place. This is just a safeguard. These are the bumpers at a bowling alley. These are the side rails, the guardrails, really. And so, that being said, we understand there's bad actors anywhere, and until it's still, people are free to be crazy, young, wild, and free, and be absolutely bananas. So yeah, those two prongs of regulation. If we have lightly regulated immigration, I think we would be in a much better case there. And of course, lightly regulated, oh my gosh, it's insane how like unregulated the voter rolls are. Anybody and their pet dog and deceased uncle, rest his soul, can stay on the voter, get on the voter rolls,
Yeah, well,
stay on the voter rolls.
Exactly. And yeah, we'll talk about that a little later, but I want to know, how did you get involved with the John Birch Society? And I want to congratulate you. You're very modest, but I want to congratulate you on your involvement with John Birch, but not just getting involved, but being a leader in the society. So I want to congratulate you on being a leader and getting in there. But what brought you to the John Birch Society?
Well, like any good Bircher, Laura Douglas was the pillar and hub of information in her group of friends. And you might know Laura, actually.
Oh yeah, I know Laura.
Yeah. And so any good Bircher, usually, I mean, after a year or two or whatever of birching, they end up being the pillar of information within their group of friends, just like the founder of the society, Robert Welch, was to his friends. The society started when Robert Welch did his due diligence, did his homework, and looked at history and current events. And he was so well read that he ended up becoming the hub of information for his group of friends and peers. And these guys were pretty well to do. He was an old candy manufacturer out of Boston, and he knew many titans of industry, business, finance, and who loved just free markets and free people. And usually they would have these dinners and after together or at different functions, and they would, like National Association of Manufacturers, that's like the free market version of the Chamber of Commerce. You know, they don't twist arms. They just say, let the free market decide, let the people decide, let the customers decide whose products they want to get, who they want to work for. One of the guys, actually the heads of the NAM, I think it was Bill Grady. He's definitely a founding member of the society. His name is Bill Grady, and he speaks volumes, just him alone, on not just letting the customers decide where they want to buy their products from, but letting the employees decide who they want to work for and how they want to work. And Bill Grady, look him up, William Grady, Grede. He was a titan of industry in this respect because he decertified 3 different unions. He disbanded them. 3 different unions because he treated his employees so well. And I'm reminded somewhat of J. Willard Marriott. Very, very principled man. And he knew to treat his employees very well. And that's how he grew Marriott so far and wide. And again, it's you let the people really decide who they want to work for, how they want to work. And it's let the free market decide, right? Well, you have the chambers of commerce and you have the unions deciding for you how you should work and how you should do things. Just in a similar sense of like how a lot of products are now being pre-chosen for people. Like a good thing I was just talking about was school choice. Like you can choose your restaurant that you go to eat, but you can't choose what school your kid goes to or what you pay for it. It's like It's a totally other thing. No, you can't have that. And so, yeah, it's a pleasure to be working with the society right now. And I remember I'm on a tangent right now, but I'm trying to bring it on back, tie it back on to get back on point for why I brought up Bill Grady and the choice for employers and employees and customers. Let the free market decide there. Let's see. What was your question again? You might want to help me jog my memory here, Dolores.
Well, no. I just wanted to know about you and your involvement with the John Birch Society, how you got going with them, and what led you.
Laura Douglas, that's right. So
yeah,
again, so same thing with the founder, Robert Welch. His friends would, after these dinners or after a National Association of Manufacturer dinners, they would gather around the table and they would basically ask him a bunch of questions, because they say, oh, well, if they had questions, they'd ask Bob, they'd ask Robert, well, I have this question, or what's going on here? Oh, Bob, I know, Bob knows, ask this guy. And so it eventually turned into a ask Bob hour. Let's ask Bob hour. And so these roundtables, these sessions where all these very important, well-read, good businessmen, they would be asking Robert Welch a bunch of different stuff on a bunch of different topics because he's so well-read. And that's basically how the society started with those let's ask Bob hours. Well, so we all have that person in our group of friends that kind of informs us as to a variety of different issues or topics. And that was Laura Douglas for my mother. Laura Douglas was that pillar of information. So whenever my mom's not very interested in politics. A lot of us aren't. A lot of people, citizens, they're not interested in politics, especially now, when politics is such a divisive arena and very cutthroat. So a lot of folks aren't interested in politics, but every once in a while, like my mother, they will be curious and want an answer as to, oh, what's going on here? Or what about this? Oh, I heard this is happening, and the politics ties into everything. So you're gonna have these questions. And when we have these questions, we usually have somebody we know who's knowledgeable, who's that pillar of information, that pillar of truth, or hopefully they're speaking the truth, and that hub of knowledge. And that hub for my mother was Laura Douglas. And Laura Douglas was a proud member of the John Birch Society for many years. Yes. Actually, her family goes back with the society for a while. And that's how she became, I believe, that pillar of information, that hub of knowledge.
Yes, and that she is. That she is. Now, I want to talk about HR 1, and I know you're familiar with that. This HR 1 is a House Democrat. They just passed this bill, and it's called, deceitfully so, For the People Act. This bill is not for the people. Now, this bill, what it does, will automatically register 16-year-olds to vote. Now, who are 16-year-olds? If they're in public school, they are under control of the government and under teachers. My granddaughter is going to be 16. She is not ready nor responsible enough to make a decision about voting. And I hope some of this stuff can get turned back, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. No voter ID. You have to show ID to get in just about everything except voting, because of what it does, legalizing voter harvesting. And we know that ballot harvesting started in California, now it's everywhere. So what starts in California doesn't stay here. But allow felons to vote. Allow the Justice Department to demand the removal of social media posts that they don't agree with. And we know about the cancel culture. If you step out of line, if some of these big people who control media don't agree with what you say, if you say the wrong thing on Facebook or Google, whatever, then you're kicked out. If you're a Christian, if you're a conservative, your message is not allowed. And that is totally not American. And America was founded on us being able to have free speech. That's why we have the First Amendment. And then we get into how independent commission, how they want to change, how our societies and how our communities how we line them up. They want to take that away. I mean, this is a 800-page big gorilla bill that's loaded with a lot of stuff that nobody reads that will change America and is changing our whole culture. That's just a little tip of what's in there. I can't even comprehend all the stuff that's in this.
Right.
And,
it's like Nancy Pelosi says,
exactly.
oh, well, let's pass it
exactly
and we'll find out what's inside.
Yeah, we'll pass it and then we'll find out what's in it. But
gotcha.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, gotcha. And then that other one was HR 127, which was sponsored by Sheila Jackson Lee of Houston, Texas. Now, this HR 127 is another doozy. This thing will, they call it the Firearm Licensing and Registration Act. Sounds so innocent. But we don't need any more bills about firearms, because we know the Second Amendment was covered in our Constitution. And this bill will destroy the Second Amendment, and it's designed to do so to remove the freedom of Americans to own firearms. I'm not talking about knuckleheads and people that are going to do crazy stuff, because people who want to do crazy things with firearms, you can't stop them from getting a gun, no matter what bill you pass.
They're already going to be if they're going to kill other people in cold blood or hot blood, or just wreck things, destroy lives. Just because something's illegal it's not going to stop them from making a pipe gun and then making a couple of them and packing them in a satchel and then extracting violence. It's not going to stop these wicked people from owning guns. I mean, you look at Mexico, okay? That's a great example. You look just south in Mexico, guns are illegal. Oh yeah? How many people do the cartel kill every year? That doesn't stop crooks from owning and then using guns to ill effect, which is terrible. I mean, the only thing that these gun laws would affect are law-abiding citizens.
Exactly.
Who would only use guns for self-protection, to protect their family, and to protect themselves against overreaching tyrannical governments.
And we have plenty of that going on, Eli. Now, I want you to go ahead and share some positives. What do you see? I want you to share your view of America. What do you think about America and your love for America? I want you to expound on that before we close today, because I want to leave people with some positive, with some hope.
Oh, good. Yes.
Right. All of this craziness that's happening.
There is no sense in talking about the problem without the symptoms of the problem, without at least talking about some solutions. And well, let's look at what made America fantastic, or as Donald Trump would say, great in the first place. And that is the free exchange of ideas. We should be able to have these conversations and foster these conversations, even ones we don't agree with, or things that might be hard at first. Like anything you do at first, it's going to be difficult. Just foster these conversations and talks, and honestly seek the truth in these talks. And of course, in your own time, private time, seek the truth in your research. Don't go along with something just because you agree with it at face value. Really dig and try and see both sides and see which one has more merit and more research that backs it up. And I'm not talking about pay for play phony science. I'm talking about like actual, does it line up with natural law? And because that's code word for God's law. So does it line up with the way the world actually is? I would say look at that. And then again, just foster free conversation and free discussion and discourse, because that's what free societies are built on, is free discourse and discussion like we're having right now. We can disagree on certain things and we can agree on many other things. But again, you got to let people disagree with you. You got to have these conversations, because that is the cornerstone. That is the oil that keeps a free society running. And last thing about those bills you mentioned, and this goes into the solutions I have for you all today. The bills you mentioned, which was HR 1 and then HR 127, I knew a lot about those bills because I had subscribed to a notification service put out by the JBS. So yes, I am going to plug some JBS stuff at this time, but this is an incredibly useful tool. Many times in the past, I've found myself catching up with legislation that's already been passed in Congress, that's already been done and put forward. the damage has been completed. This stuff's been written into law. Sure, it'll get tossed out by a court, but where was I when this law was up for debate, when it was, being discussed on the House floor, or even better yet, discussed in committee, right? So as soon as some really destructive law makes it out of committee, the John Birch Society gives a legislative action alert. That's what we call it, is a legislative action alert. And they say in the alert, it gives us a nice short summary of the bill, what it's going to do, what it means for you. And again, it's nice and short means like long, I guess, or like a wall of text if you don't read, which I also encourage you to read. Again, when I was telling you to seek the truth privately, please read, and please read. Every single day, set aside some time to read. It could be the Bible, it could be anything, it could be a book, okay? Please just get good at reading, because that's what's needed. That's where the truth lives, is in those words. And anyhow, the legislative action alerts will have a short text. It's a 5-minute read, and it'll give you the gist of the bill. And this, again, it could be an 800-page bill, it could be a 1,200-page bill, right? It'll still give you a gist in about a 5-minute read. And then at the bottom of the summary, it will give you a box to fill in and contact your legislators, so you can tell them what you think about the bill, if you agree with it, or if you want them to vote no on it. And most of the time it'll be vote no, but there's some bills, like there's a bill for that improves gun rights in Texas, that you will actually vote yes. So the more, and that's because Texas is a very good story for the John Birch Society. They've moved in Texas very well, and to the point where Ron Paul and now Rand Paul has been able to hold their congressional seat, which is fantastic. Go Birchers. But again, any other place where the Birch Society is successful, you actually start to see bills where you want to vote yes on them, because it restores more of our liberty, which is a huge plus. And that means that we're on the other side, at least in those areas, in those states. And that's where we're kind of seeing it. So we're really working here hard on California. So we're getting an informed electorate. We're going to have truth speakers, pillars of knowledge within your community. And we're going to eventually have actually positive bills. We're going to tell our legislatures to vote, oh yeah, vote yes on this. But until then, please inform yourself. I would encourage you to check these legislative action alerts. If you can put this somewhere, it's to get them on your phone. Now I've become way more well-read, is just texting JBS. That's JBS to, the number is 88588. Yeah, so that's just right down the center of the dial pad. But texting JBS to 88588 gets, and it doesn't spam your phone with text. It like literally is every time something comes out of committee, which isn't that often, if it's a really wicked bill, thankfully, it might speed up in the future, but that's like when HR1 comes out of committee, or when it came down the pipe, HR 127, there's a couple other ones like the Equality Act, that now I'm like, in just 5 minutes, I hit this link and I'm well read. Like I know what the bill is about, and I've already, it takes like 2 minutes to send an email and then do a quick call to your representatives, which are already plugged in there at the bottom there. If you fill that out, and you're in touch and you're letting them know. And then the best thing is just letting your friends know about, again, just the legislative action alert. So yeah, if you want to sign up for that, it just text JBS to 88588, and you'll stay on top of all those bills, and you won't be caught behind the curve where it's already passed and you're just like, oh gosh, it'll be something ahead of time where, your representative, sometimes you call them early enough, you'd be like, oh, actually I didn't know about that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to look into it. And then, if enough people call them, they assume like one call is like 10 people. And so if enough people call them, they'll be like, oh gosh, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot for re-election if I actually vote this bill up. Like, okay, let me do that again. But that's so funny. We have a very wicked senator here in California, Dianne Feinstein. She'd actually write back. She'd have canned messages saying, oh no, I'm the sponsor of this bill. And I believe it's, for fairness and equality. It's like, goodness, the Morris who truly are at the gate, and they are inside the office as well. It's something else. But yeah, with enough educated people and good people like you, we can turn California around. It's really honestly red. Like I know Orange County is red county, and it's just people have been led astray with these nice, well-packaged lies. And that's really what we face and what we're up against at the moment. But again, these lies can be dispelled with just a couple drops of truth. It'll resolve and clear out all the muddy water.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. Now, did you want to leave any contact information for yourself, or are you okay with just the information you've shared?
I would say you can just go on the newamerican.com. I would like plug that. If you want to get in touch with your local coordinator, call them. If you're in my region, you'll call me. My number will be there on the website. Just go to jbs.org, or you can go to the New American. Dig around, get familiar with the site. Though there's so many good tools. I'm not just plugging it for myself. Like literally, this is tools that like friends who haven't even joined or they're not joiners, which again, they're going to be joining soon because they continue to use those tools on the site and in print repeatedly. They're like, this is useful. This gets it done. This lets people know what's up. It works. That's why it's still around. That's why we've been around since 1958. Where it works. We've had most of the Tea Party groups dissolve and disband. JBS has been here. I mean, that started in 2011 or 2009, 8. Recession. JBS has been around not since 2008. It's been around since 1958. Right? We have over 60 years. So we have and it's because it works. Don't believe me? Get some of these materials, get some of these tools, use the action alerts, text JBS to 88588 and do that and see. And you can unsubscribe. You can text top at any time. You can stop it whenever you want. I haven't unsubscribed yet because every single alert has informed me and made me a more capable citizen when it comes to holding my elected officials to account and informing my friends. Like it's that simple, and I'm still there because it works. And many people use those tools because it works, and that's why they become members. Is because I'll just leave you with this. Again, if you're a member for like 2 or more years down the road, you will eventually become that hub of information for your friends and family. It's easier than evangelizing and turning people Christian, I guess, unless you're a really good Christian. Then you could like eventually, change all those people over or evangelize them. But really, when it comes to good information, it doesn't matter what religion or sect you're in. The truth is the truth, right? As far as politics and on news and media goes, and it speaks volumes on its own. And eventually, you'll become this knowledgeable person after just 2 years of membership. And I'd say that roughly 2 years, like 2 or 3 or 4 years, like you'll eventually work yourself into being this hub of information and knowledge for your group of friends. People who just choose to stick their head in the sand, and then eventually they'll have to stick their head up, pull their head up from the hole, and look around and say, "Oh, hey, Laura, what's about this?" Or, "Hey, Dolores, like, what'd you hear about this thing, this one thing, because it's going to affect my business?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, well, that's what it's really about." And they're like, "Oh, I had no idea. The news media says it's a really good thing. I guess it's not." It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Who is somebody going to trust? Their good friend, you, or they're going to trust the television? Something that's proven wrong multiple times.
That's right. That is right. Well, Eli, thank you so much. Wonderful job. Wonderful information. Thank you for
thanks
sharing.
for having me.
Yes, I'm glad you made the decision to come on and share. And it's just been a blessing. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask you to say a quick prayer to close us out after I thank my audience. But I want to go ahead and thank my audience, those who come each week to listen and also to share. You either listen or you watch it on YouTube. I'm just thankful and grateful for everyone who takes the time to listen. And don't forget to hit that red button and subscribe so that when these messages come out, then you'll be notified. And also, I would love for you to be a sponsor of this podcast. Share this message with your friends and on your social media. And friends, you just heard a wonderful message from Eli. Stand up. Stand up for what's right. Stand up for your country. Don't stand up for Democrat, Republican. No, that has to be removed in the troubled times that we're in right now. It's not even about that. We live in times of good versus evil, and we have to choose good over evil. And guess what? If we do not stand up for what we believe, who's going to stand? So it's up to us to take a stand, stand up. Eli, close us in a word of prayer.
Thank you. I will do. Let's bow our heads and assume a mindset of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you today, humble servants, truly blessed by this great land you've given us, blessed by the great minds and bodies you've bestowed upon us, you have gifted us, Lord. We are so grateful, and we are in awe of your power, of the beauty of your creation. We adore you, Lord. And today we confess that our country has not been 100%. We have many who have fallen off the path, have given in to depravity and wickedness. And Lord, we hope we are so sorry for them, and we confess that we have sometimes even enabled this behavior of this wicked behavior, enabled this in our culture and in our churches, in our schools, and we hope that we will speak up and we will stop that. We confess that we haven't always been perfect ourselves, that we are not always the on top of things, but we are still so thankful for the guidance you've given us, your son that you've brought here to this world to die on the cross. We also are so thankful for the instruction manual of life. We are so thankful for the Bible and the scripture, which we should turn our eyes to for guidance on a variety of topics in life. It sums up your law and your world so well in scripture. And we thank you so much for that. Lastly, I pray that you be with this nation, you be with its people, believer or non-believer, and you will lead us out of this darkness and do your will through us and within the body of us in America and around the world. We thank you so much for all you've done so far, and it is in Jesus' name we pray all this. Amen.
Amen.